next 90 minutes on Wide Wide World, you will see Gary Cooper, John Wayne, Gene Autry, Ward Bond, Walter Brennan, Chill Wills, Gabby Hayes, Jim Arness, and Jim Garner. They will talk on one subject, the Western. Producer Jack Warner, writer Frank Gruber, director John Ford, and others on the same subject.
The Western, why and wherefore, and also who for. Some say they're wonderful. Some say, I wonder. I say, here comes Gene Autry on Champion.
Howdy there, the gay thereaway. This is Gene Autry, and I'm here to welcome you and Wide Wide World to Melody Ranch out in California. And we've got a lot of friends here waiting for you. So just stick around for a minute, huh?
Wide World. Today on Wide Wide World, the Western.
How do you do? I'm Dave Garraway, and this is Wide Wide World. If everybody who likes Westerns suddenly took a notion to move out to where the pavement ends and the West begins, our cities would become half empty overnight, I think. Long before the movie or the TV cowboy hero, we had a national fascination for the Western. The early Wild West shows, Buffalo Bill and Pawnee Bill, the dime novels of Erastus Beadle, the Western magazines. But it was with the coming of motion pictures that the Westerns grew to their full greatness, because it was only the movies that could tap the real magic of the Western story, action. 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 Westerns are where the good ones somehow always win out and the bad ones always get punished, which is the way it should be, shouldn't it? But most important, the Western story offers the classic hero, the cowboy, lonely and brooding on the prairie, stern, triumphant over evil, a man who does not bend before danger or let himself get pushed around. A liberated man, free of women, property, society. A man alone against the world, but on the side of what is right. A man of the West, envied by other men, wanted by women, worshipped by children. Children who dream of becoming a cattleman like Arizona-born Dick Cropper, like forest ranger Spud Mason, like trail herd driver Bill Shannon. Men of the West, like Texas rodeo cowboy Gene Todd, 3 times national calf roping champion. Last year, more people paid to see professional rodeos than paid to see baseball. Men like Harry Hill, born in Freedom, Wyoming, who is a fur trapper and guide. The faces of the West, Ralph Rowe, rancher, breeder, and trainer of horses. And Gil Tapia, a vaquero, which to Mexican means just plain cowboy. Men who grow big as the great outdoors itself, who measure 6.5 feet high from boots to brim, plus a couple of inches for headroom. That describes Big John Hamilton of San Antonio, part-time Hollywood actor in Westerns. The Western shooting script, page 1. Dissolved to interior, dolly into full-time actor Chill Wills, veteran of more than 100 pictures. Is that right, Chill?
You hit it right smack dab on the button, Cousin David. But this time on your show, I'd like to pay tribute to a man from Oologah, Oklahoma. He was liked by we people in the wide, wide Western world, loved by the people all over the world. Dave, here's his hat. This is his catch rope. Will Rogers.
Oh.
Thank you, cousin.
The Western, shooting script, page 2. Interior camera holds on poker table, center stage.
I remember when I made my first Western right here on this lot, Walter. Yeah, back in 1930. I must have done over 100 Westerns here. Of course, that was before they typecast me as the sidekick of the star.
Yeah, well, I recall probably one of the best Western pictures I ever appeared in was with my friend Gary Cooper. Made it for Sam Golden in 1940, and say, there's somebody playing here that's a cheating. Now, I don't know who it is, but he does it again, I'll shoot his gall-darn whiskers off.
The Western, on location, Newhall. Valiant to Walter Brennan, portrayer of sheriffs, judges, cattle barons, and heroines' fathers. Veteran of 35 Westerns. Close pan to George Gabby Hayes, who has faithfully ridden by the side of 100 cowboy heroes down 1,000 trails. Close shot, Gilbert M. Anderson, Bronco Billy Anderson, whose memory of Western movies goes back to the turn of the century.
In 1903, Edmund S. Porter, who was making movies for the Thomas Edison Company, told us actors there wouldn't be much more work. Movies were only being used then to drive out the audience after a vaudeville bill. I told Porter we ought to make a long story, like 15 minutes long. And another actor remembered a play he had been in, The Great Train Robbery. We figured we could make it for $800. At first, I was supposed to play one of the robbers because I told Porter I'd been born on a horse, but he gave me some other parts when he saw me try to mount up from the other side.
In the beginning, 1903, there was The Great Train Robbery, filmed on a wild Western location just outside of Dover, New Jersey. The first feature motion picture. In Nickelodeons and vaudeville houses, the thrilling struggle atop a rushing train held the audience instead of driving them away. Every citizen of Dover must have had his day in this mass holdup scene. Unknown actor Gilbert Anderson ended up playing 5 roles in the film, including this one of the escaping passenger who was shot down in his tracks.
Well, a Western film just has to have a good Western-type hero to be successful, you know. Why, it's just like a girl needs a sweetheart to get herself married.
Listen, are we going to talk about women or play cards here?
Well, anybody can play cards.
Oh, sure deal, Billy.
The scene ends on the Men of the West. We dissolve to two gentlemen who probably know more about Western movies than any two in Hollywood. Frank Gruber, the most widely read living author of Western novels and story editor of NBC TV's Wells Fargo, and Jack L. Warner, president of Warner Brothers Pictures, on whose production schedules Westerns rank high and handsome. Our Wide, Wide World cameras have got you covered there, Mr. Warner, so you better tell us what's going on there, if you will.
Frank Gruber has been showing me the road agent's spin, an old gunfighter's trick where he surrenders his gun and shoots at the same time. I think that's pretty slick, Dave.
We can build a new Western around that for TV. And by the way, Mr. Warner, isn't Warner Brothers now making Western films for TV as well as theaters?
We certainly are. There's Maverick, Sugarfoot, Colt 45, Cheyenne, Lawman, and several others that are not Westerns for the ABC TV, in addition to our program of theatrical pictures. Warner's is right up to the top of its boots.
Well, tell me, sir, why so many Westerns?
Because, Dave, people like them. They're exciting, they're entertaining, and the studio must turn out the kind of pictures people will go to see.
Well, if Westerns are such sure box office material, why don't you make only Westerns? Why did you also make pictures like The Life of Zola or Pasteur or Yankee Doodle Dandy or Sergeant York or most recently Sayonara?
Oh, those were great pictures, Dave, and very successful. And now we have no time for sergeants. But the answer to your question, the public likes variety. And a good story of any kind, with any kind of a background, but we get back to the Westerns. They have another value. They do a fine job of public relations for our country overseas, where they are very popular. You might say Westerns are ambassadors of goodwill.
which we indeed seem to need these days, sir. Mr. Warner, back in the late 20s, when aviation was becoming popular, there were a lot of predictions that the Westerns were dead, that everything was going to be aviation from then on. Now, why didn't that happen?
Because the Western is too deeply rooted in our history and in our traditions. The covered wagon, the log cabin, the cowboy represent romance and adventure. They symbolize the story of America. A Western is a story of human relationships, of love and struggle and warmth on the land where men live. The Western will always remain because it is part of our heritage.
Well said, and thank you, Mr. Warner. Frank Gruber, as the author of 41 Western books, 350 Western short stories, 50 teleplays, and 54 motion pictures, all Westerns, could it be that you might be running out of story plots someday soon?
Not at all, Dave. In fact, we had the same number of plots we started out with when we began writing Westerns 26 years ago. Everything I've ever written has come out of 7 basic plots.
Would it be telling secrets to tell us what those 7 basic plots are, Frank?
No, every Western writer uses them. They are, 1, the Union Pacific plot, the building of a railroad or stagecoach or telegraph lines into the West. 2nd, the revenge plot, the hero tracking down a villain to revenge a wrong. 3rd, the Empire story. This is usually a cattle story, cattlemen versus the homesteaders. 4th, the cavalry and Indian story, Custer's Last Stand, for example. 5th, the outlaw story, the James brothers, the Daltons, stories of legendary bad men. 6th, the ranch story, usually having to do with property rights and involving cowboys against rustlers. 7, the Marshall story, the adventures of a dedicated lawman keeping law and order in a town or territory.
Well, I understand you were born in Minnesota, Frank, a state not usually included in the frontier West. How do you make your stories so authentic?
Authenticity doesn't depend on where the writer comes from, Dave. Take the 3 greatest Western writers of all time. Zane Grey was a dentist in New York City. Max Brand spent years in Italy writing poetry. Ernest Haycox, who wrote Stage to Lordsburg, was a big city newspaper man. None of them came from a so-called authentic Western background. The real authenticity is a love of the West.
When you mentioned Stage to Lordsburg, do you consider that to be an outstanding Western story?
Outstanding, yes, but I think the greatest Western story ever written was The Riders of the Purple Sage by Zane Grey. Stage to Lordsburg was the story that the motion picture Stagecoach was based on. I believe Stagecoach was the finest Western picture ever made. Due, of course, to the great direction of John Ford.
And John Ford is with us today, Frank, to tell us about the making of Stagecoach. We're going to see the famous chase scene.
I never get tired of seeing it, Dave.
Thank you very much. Well, now, this isn't exactly a stagecoach. And it isn't exactly a chase. What it is Gene Autry, owner of Melody Ranch near Los Angeles, California, using a little of his rightful authority to stop the railroad from coming across his property if he wants to. Like in those good old Western movies. What's the matter there, Gene? You got a bunch of trespassers?
Oh, no, I wouldn't say that, Dave. You know, I had a lot of fun building this railroad just for kids like this to have a lot of fun on. Yes, sir, we have a lot of fun out here.
Well, the real purpose of your Western town, of course, is for making movie and TV Western films, is it not?
Well, that's right. If you'll notice right over here, why, we have some of the real engines. You know, the ones that came from some of the Western railroads, and some of them really date back to the early 1900s.
By the way, that railroad station there strikes a true note in your life story, doesn't it?
Well, it certainly does. You know, I used to be a telegraph operator on a railroad back down in Oklahoma. And one night, why, a fellow came into the telegraph office to send a telegram. And he saw the guitar lying over on the table, and he says, "Young fellow, do you play that guitar?" I said, "Well, a little bit." He says, "Well, why not knock off a little ditty for me?" So I did a couple of songs, and he said, "Young fellow," he says, "you ought to get yourself a job on the radio." And I thought he was just kidding, and when I read the telegram signature said Will Rogers. So he was really the man that started me on my way in the entertainment field.
Well, Gene, I'm sure it's news to a lot of folks that Will Rogers gave you your start. That's fascinating.
Hey, kids, look over here. You see what I see? Huh? You see that? Yes, it is the Lone Ranger.
A fiery horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty hi-yo silver, the Lone Ranger.
In 25 years since the phrase "Hi-Yo Silver" was first uttered on radio, the Lone Ranger has become a legendary American figure, known to children as well as Paul Bunyan, Rip Van Winkle, or Robin Hood. Motivated by love of country, fairness, and tolerance, he portrays a classic heroic role to millions of youngsters throughout the world.
Oh, Silver!
Let the jet airplane hurtle the continent between lunch and dinner. Let the satellite streak through space. It is still the man galloping the horse at 30 miles an hour who makes the little boy say, wow. Most Westerns share one thing in common, a specific period in American history, roughly the 2 or 3 decades that followed our Civil War. It was our mightiest period of westward expansion, based as it was on the driving through of the railroad and on hard times in the post-war East, which sent men westward with their families looking for new homes. The most dramatic incidents in this epic movement of men provided many of the stories for later Western films, which depicted the homesteaders' displacement of the cattlemen. William S. Hart, famous as an actor, was also a deep student of this great period of history, and he tells about it.
For many years, our government had been leasing these Indian lands to cattlemen to graze their herds. And then these cattlemen were told to leave. No greater tearing at the heartstrings of those grizzled old range riders could possibly be imagined.
One of the most thrilling sights to millions was the person of Tom Mix, a contemporary of Hart, and his great rival as #1 movie cowboy of silent films. Mix had an altogether different style than Hart. He was a daredevil type, supplying entertainment in his own exploits rather than in strong story parts. Mix introduced the tailor-made cowboy uniform, white gloves, a first-rate showman. He was the roping, riding, fighting type of Western hero, to be imitated by many others. Other sights to behold in the development of Westerns. Scenes from the great silent epics, such as The Iron Horse, which appeared in 1924, directed by John Ford, and introducing a new star named George O'Brien. The wave of silent epics in the 1920s also included The Covered Wagon in 1923. And in 1925, The Pony Express, followed in the 20s by hundreds of lesser Westerns and dozens of new stars like Hoot Gibson and Fred Thompson, cowboy heroes in the lively, flashy image of Tom Mix, but with their own special traits. And cowboy stars in the more realistic, sober image of William S. Hart, such as Harry Carey and Buck Jones. Buck Jones, who depended less on action and more on character portrayal. The coming of sound to motion pictures. With the coming of sound, the West came alive as never before in magnificent pictures, like The Big Trail, released in 1930. The world was captivated by the grandeur and majesty of the American West in Cimarron with Richard Dix, and in Old Arizona with Warner Baxter, and by an actor named Gary Cooper in The Virginian. The 1930 wave of sound epics gave another shot in the arm to all Westerns. Surviving into sound, Tom Mix, appearing with a child actor named Mickey Rooney in My Pal the King, 1936. Also surviving into sound, another old-timer, Hoot Gibson. But sound also brought new stars to the movie screens, Ken Maynard and Bob Steele. And one who is to reach his greatest stardom in television many years later, as you see him here, Bill Boyd as Hopalong Cassidy. Tim McCoy represented the old order, which was passing.
We are wanderers of the wasteland. My lop-eared mule, my broken down horse.
And in the late 30s came the singing cowboys. First and foremost, Gene Autry, who balanced songs with story action. And later, Roy Rogers, whose production song numbers became the biggest thing in the show. In 1939, in a picture called Stagecoach, the art of making Westerns reached a peak that some say has never been surpassed. Its director was John Ford, and it brought forth a brand new Western star named John Wayne. Got it.
Same gun, Dave. Still working. I'm working a little, too.
I've heard it. John is an actor in Westerns, one who has got a great string of years as #1 at the box office. What do you really like about the Western?
Well, I like to work in Westerns because they're usually simple, uncomplicated stories. They're folklore in its purest form. Cowboy's a little more than 100 years old, yet he's had more written about him than any real or fancied figure in all history. His way of life and earthy approach to survival have been an inspiration to kids and grown-ups in all nations of the world, from the day that Gary Cooper first said, "When you say that, smile, mister," to last night when another Western hero, Ward Bond, said, "Go ahead and draw, I'll wait for you." And then I like him for personal reasons. Before I tried on my first big hat, I lived in a furnished room. Now I come home and put my feet on my own sofa. Westerns made that possible. Most of all, I suppose I like the folklore and the man the cowboy is. Happy Ford, we started our association many years ago when he kicked me when I wasn't sitting down. I think he's probably the greatest storyteller in the business. Can't get his pipe on his mantelpiece for the awards, critic and academy, that have been given to him for his work. He's made all sorts of pictures, but he's, I think, the first director to ever develop the Western to its true classic state. Has a feeling for the pioneer American and the ability to express it to the eye of the camera. To him, nothing is impossible for an actor. He's a hard taskmaster, but his ability commands respect. Every actor in Hollywood wants to work with him. I have only one bit of advice to the young ones. Don't ever disagree with him standing up. Liable to wind up like I did. Happy Ford.
How do you do, Mr. Ford? You did introduce John Wayne into pictures, am I right?
That's correct. Duke was an undergraduate at USC when I first saw him. He was young Duke then, now he's old Duke. He was our prop man, or third assistant prop man, during his summer vacations. I asked him what he wanted to do, what he was studying for. Was he taking pre-med, pre-legal? And he said, no, he wanted to be a director. So eventually he drifted into small parts and into bigger ones, and when the story of Stagecoach came along, I said I'd like to have Duke for it. And we got him in.
Don't you want another purple?
No, thanks. And there he is. And here he is.
Well, Mr. Ford, a little while ago, Frank Gruber, the writer, called Stagecoach the greatest Western film ever made, and he credited you, and many people agree with him. Do you?
Well, I don't know. I sort of liked my first big Western, The Iron Horse, which was one of the blockbusters of its time, the story of the UP Railroad. One of my favorites is The Searchers, and I think my real favorite is She Wore a Yellow Ribbon, featuring old Duke here.
Thank you.
In a few moments, we're going to show our wide world audience the never-to-be-forgotten chase episode from Stagecoach, probably the greatest thing of its kind ever filmed. But you mentioned the importance of characters. Would you tell us something about that first in Stagecoach?
Well, Dave, we had a fine cast of actors in Stagecoach. As the picture developed, the various relationships between the characters developed. For example, the rough, friendly feeling of confidence between the driver, played by Andy Devine, and George Bancroft, who was riding shotgun, as they call it. Then there was the sympathetic portrayal of the alcoholic doctor, Thomas Mitchell, and his affectionate regard for the mild-mannered little salesman, Donald Meek. Also in the Stagecoach to Lordsburg was Claire Trevor, playing the bad woman.
Maybe you'd like to sit next to me. No, thank you.
Who was rejected by the good woman, played by Louise Platt, until certain things happened. John Carradine, playing an ex-Confederate officer who became a gambler in the West. and the central love story between the bad woman and the outlaw Ringo, played by John Wayne in his first starring part in a major picture. These were the people and their relationships in the Stagecoach.
And those characters are so varied that everybody in the audience can identify themselves with somebody inside the Stagecoach. They weren't watching the picture, they were a part of it.
Mr. Ford, although you've won 4 Academy Awards and 4 Critics Awards for your pictures, Stagecoach did not win one for you. How come?
Well, Dave, I think in Hollywood, we are very, very particular about the Academy Awards. We try to be very, very just. The year that Stagecoach was up for the award, Gone with the Wind was sort of the main contender, and the consensus of opinion was that it was a better picture, and I quite agree.
Well, of course, some of your greatest pictures have not been Westerns. The Informer and How Green Was My Valley, The Quiet Man, and the production you're working on now, The Last Hurrah. Which of these do you prefer? These are Westerns?
Well, I got a great kick out of The Last Hurrah, which I think is my best picture because Spencer Tracy gives a superb performance in it, and the rest of the cast I think is excellent. But I don't know. I like to get out and do a Western every so often.
I gather you prefer them.
Well, as a person, yes. As a director, I just love them.
And if I may say so, Mr. Ford, that love shows through in Stagecoach, which is called by many the greatest Western of all time. And right now, one of the most thrilling scenes in nearly 60 years of motion pictures comes to us from Stagecoach, The Chase.
Major? Gatewood? Ringo? Your health.
Thank you, sir.
action, comradeship in peril of death, and the soul's relief at rescue. Moments on the great peaks of human emotion. In John Ford's Western Stagecoach. In part two of Wide, Wide World, we shall go to the wilds of the Northwest to see a Western motion picture set being readied for shooting. We'll talk with actors Gary Cooper and Maria Schell, who are to star in the picture. We'll rejoin Gene Autry, John Wayne, and John Ford for some inside dope on how Westerns are made. Learn about the fast draw and horse falls and other stunts, and talk to Hollywood's outstanding Indian actor. We'll also trace the Western's course into new channels, television channels. In the Western story, romance between the hero and the girl, although often a factor, is usually not the central theme of the story, and sometimes it's only suggested. It's almost certain that the real love is between the man and his horse.
You know, it was the horse that first brought the cowboy and the pioneers to the West, Dave. And I don't know how to describe that any better than in my theme song that I've used for 17 years. I think it goes like this. I'm back in the saddle again, out where a friend is a friend, where the longhorn cattle feed on the lowly Jimson weed. I'm back in the saddle again.
Mighty friendly sound, Gene. And isn't that Champion Junior that I see you up on right now?
Yes, that's correct. This is Champion Junior. But I've used 3 champions during my career. At first, I had a horse that died during the war in 1943 while I was in the Air Force. And then I started using an Arab horse, and now, we're sort of using this one here quite a lot. Dave, I'd like to show you some of the saddles over here that we have. Of course, we have many saddles here in our fireproof barn where we keep the horses.
Oh, they are beautiful, aren't they?
Yes, thank you very, very, very much. Well, let's see here. Oh.
What's that, first call for dinner?
Yeah, that's kind of a call for dinner to show off the horses here for you, Dave. Here's a brand new horse that we're training right now, and we're going to use him also in television and also in the rodeo arenas all over the country.
Is it very hard to teach tricks to a horse, Gene?
Well, I don't think so, Dave, because I've always found that if you'll be kind to a horse, why, it's very much the same as a human being. You know, a lot of folks have the idea that you can beat a horse in training. I have never felt that way, and I always advise all of the kids that the kinder they are to all animals, and especially their dog and their horse, why, they'll do anything in the world for you. Just give them a little reward like a carrot when they finish. Now, I'd like to show you just about 2 short tricks here for Champion and show you how he marches. So that's the boy.
Straightforward, he marches.
Oh, thank you. And now, you know, like all good little boys and girls, when they go to bed at night, they always say their prayers. Well, I'm going to show you how Champion says his prayers, too. Oh, wait a minute. Let's do that again. That's it. All right, wait up. That's it. Now, there you are.
There we are.
Yes.
Wonderful, Gene.
Well, I could go ahead and show you a lot of these tricks out here, Dave, but I know that you're waiting for something very exciting over there. Our very, very fine friend, Mr. John Ford, is waiting over here on Main Street to show you something real exciting, and I'll see you again in just a little while.
Right. Thank you, Gene, very much. See you in a few minutes.
Dawn, we'd like to show you a horse form. You ready, Chuck? Come on.
Give it to us.
Hey.
Mm.
Hey. Well, that's pretty good.
Get him out of there.
This is Chuck Robison. He is one of our best stuntmen, probably the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ford.
Nice going.
A lot of people have asked about how you do horse falls, whether it's dangerous, whether it hurts the horse, and I welcome the chance to try to explain this afternoon exactly how it is done and what happens. You see, the stuntmen, who are probably the highest paid class in pictures, start training the horse when it's about 6 months old. They watch a lot of colts in a pasture. Of course, every horse Every colt likes to roll when there isn't a saddle on his back. And they pick out the one which rolls the best, the one that likes to roll. And about a year old, they start training him on foot, teaching him to fall. About 2 years old, they start doing easy saddle falls. Now, all this horse does is fall or roll. He does nothing else. He is really the aristocrat of the equine world. He has much attention paid to him, probably as man of war or round table or any other horse. He rides in special cars. He has a special stable. And I'd like to show you, for example, how this is done. It's all done by a cue. There was no force used. If you people could switch to slow motion, I think that would show the audience pretty well how it is done. Can you do that?
Okay, in our way.
Chuck, will you do one in slow motion? Is that Twinkle Toes?
That's Twinkle Toes.
What a name for a horse, Twinkle Toes.
Looks difficult even at that speed. They never get hurt, though, do they?
I have been in pictures for 43 years and have made quite a number of them, and I can honestly say that I have never hurt a horse or even scratched one. I'd like to introduce at this moment Jimmy Jacks.
Me, Coach?
No, not you.
Oh, I thought you want to meet, Coach.
This is
Ward Bond.
Ward Bond.
Hi, Ward.
This is Jimmy Jacks here. He is the head of the AHA.
Thank you, Ward. And
Jack, my name
Mr.
is.
Ford, thank you.
The AHA is the American Humane Association. He is out here on every stunt. There's no stunt done with a horse. You can't even ride a horse across the street without Jimmy or one of his men supervising the thing. And when I said, Jimmy, that I've never heard a horse in 43 years, I think you'll agree with me.
That's right, Mr. Ford. You have a very, very nice reputation.
These boys insure the horses for the, $10,000, $20,000. It's their means of livelihood. And they wouldn't hurt them any more than you'd kick your puppy dog around. Chuck, will you do us a nice fast fall now?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And those insurance companies certainly wouldn't insure the horse if they were taking
Oh,
a
they're
chance.
they're nice people.
Well, you don't say anything about me making my free falls down the Colorado River on Rio Bravo.
Well, you do one every picture.
Oh.
Someday we'll pay you for one.
I shouldn't open my big mouth. I can see that.
Big.
Not
Okay, go ahead, Chuck.
Unexpert.
Gee, that's great.
Nice work.
Nice go, Twinkle Toes. Thank you, Chuck. This is Chuck Haywood. Ladies and gentlemen, or ladies rather, he is a bachelor. Thank you, Chuck.
Yes, sir.
Feed your horse a
Thank
little
you.
rye and take a little rye. Never mind.
Well, gentlemen, we'd like to thank you all for showing us that in Westerns there's even a good side of riding for a fall. You were just great today. And there's Gene Autry riding into the main intersection of Route and Teutonville, USA.
You know, Dave, I guess the echo of the sound of camera and action has bounced off of these old walls many and many a time. And I get letters every week from friends of ours and folks who come to Hollywood who want to take a look at the set. So we plan to open up Melody Ranch to the public so they can all see them. That is, at least once or twice a week. And also, we hope that we'll get our saddle collection all together by that time, and perhaps a lot of the cowboy antiques that we have. And then, also, we want to put on a show out here in this arena for all the kids, just like we did today. Yes, that's our plan. You know, many of the films have been made right here on this old street. Many big stars have appeared here, such as Gary Cooper, one time in The Virginian, also John Wayne, and many, many others. But today, we're mostly shooting television out here with such shows as, Wyatt Earp, Gunsmoke, and many, many others, including Annie Oakley. And say, by the way, there's Miss Gail Davis now, who plays the part of Annie Oakley, and she's with Jim Garner and Jack Kelly.
Hi, Gene.
Hi, fellas.
Hi, Gene.
Hey, Annie, aren't you on the wrong end of that rifle range?
Well, no, not really, Gene. Actually, I'm holding this target for Jim.
I see.
You know, he's going to shoot right through the hole in this plate and then break the little white disc that's behind it. You ready,
Right.
Jim?
Are you going to do
Okay.
that, Brother Brad? Well, I'm going to add to the fun a little bit, and I think toss a blindfold on you.
All right.
Fun for who?
Well, don't worry, Gail. He's pretty good at this shot.
Oh, now, Jack, come on.
All right, Brother Bart.
Oh.
When I count 5. 1,
1,
2,
2,
3,
4. Oh, that's wonderful.
Mighty fine shooting there, Jim. And Annie Oakley, you better stick to your laurels.
Folks, this is Dave Garraway in New York for a moment. Is there a safe explanation for that trick, too?
Well, yes, Dave. I'm not actually that good a shot. I'm not bad, but it's safe as long as I have Rod Redwing standing behind me with live ammunition while I'm firing blanks.
Rod's an expert, I know, on the fast draw and on trick target shooting. High Noon, Duel in the Sun, The Outlaw, Shane, Gunfight at OK Corral. Some of the pictures he was gun coach on.
Dave, I should like to show you a shot that I keep in practice with in order to shoot hairline close to stars.
Fine.
On the board here is a knife with the sharp edge of the blade forward. In front of the knife is a piece of glass with a hole in it. Now, the idea is to shoot through the knife, hit the sharp edge of the blade, split the bullet, and knock off 2 targets. Now, I make it easy for myself because the hole is moving.
He did it. Gee, that's almost impossible. I don't see how you do it, but you do it. Do you handle a 6-shooter like that, too?
Yes, I do, Dave. Now, this is a Frontier single-action pistol. Single action means that the hammer must be pulled back before the gun can be fired. Now, to do that in the holster, the thumb forces the hammer back. At the same time, the 3 fingers, the little finger, the ring finger, and the middle finger, press the grip against the palm of the hand. The trigger finger is straight. As the gun clears the holster and moves out towards the target, the trigger finger slips into the trigger bowl, the thumb slips off of the hammer, and the gun is fired. Now, I'd like to show you that in a little faster motion. Now, Dave, I'm going to show you a fast draw that I taught Glenn Ford, which he does so beautifully. Shoulders squared, arms relaxed.
Ooh. How long does that take, Rod?
That was 0.2 of a second, Dave.
Whoa. Can you shoot live ammunition that fast, too?
Yes, Dave. A quarter-size target. This is a .22 caliber on a .45 frame. There you are, Dave.
Sure bit him off there. That's great to see. One last question. Rod, are you the fastest gun alive?
Well, some fellas claim to do it with blanks, Dave, but anyone can get fast with a cap pistol. I don't think there's a man alive today that can outdraw me so fast that I can't get off a shot. And I know where my shot is going.
Well, thank you, Rod. That's wonderful.
Until that fast man comes along, I am still the fastest gun alive. Thank you, Dave.
Right.
Chocmuck.
Chocmuck, whatever that means.
Chocmuck, Dave, is Chickasaw Indian for the same thing you say. Peace.
Oh, peace.
The flight of the arrow was the other symbol of violence in the West.
Jay Silverheels is a full-blooded Mohawk Indian, born on a reservation, grown up to be a feature player and character actor in Hollywood's dramas of the West. Hello, Jay.
Hello, Dave. The history of the West is not pleasant for the Indians, nor, I suppose, for the white men when they clashed. And for years here in Hollywood, the Indian was portrayed as a brutal savage. No feelings, no emotion. How many times have you seen actors trying to portray an Indian stiffen up and bark like this? White man, him saying, oh. But I think Hollywood has outgrown those stereotype savages.
Was there any particular turning point, Jay?
Without discounting a few earlier pictures like Heart of an Indian and Ramona, I think 20th Century Fox's Broken Arrow, directed by Delmar Daves in 1949, had a significant influence on the way Indians would be played thereafter. In Broken Arrow, Jeff Chandler played Cochise and I played Geronimo. And Indians came alive as human beings. We talked in the English language instead of chattering for 5 minutes with hug, mug, dug, jug, and then having some cowboy translator. They went that way. Since Broken Arrow, there have been other pictures that have granted the Indian character the deep emotions and real problems we all have. I guess the change, the trend is part of Westerns growing up. It's been a long time coming.
Well, thank you, Jay. People may argue for better or worse, but starting in the early 50s, Westerns did change. In 1952, a motion picture called High Noon, produced by Stanley Kramer, established the new trend in Western films, the so-called adult Westerns. Adult Westerns capitalize on the strong story themes in a Western setting, with physical action and gunplay of secondary. High Noon criticized our society for its indifference to public issues in the story of a town marshal who could not get the townspeople to help him arrest outlaw Frank Miller. Miller and his waiting brothers were sworn to kill the marshal, and he was arriving on the train at high noon. Right now, Wide Wide World live cameras take you to this actual shooting location for a Warner Brothers picture in production, The Hanging Tree.
Really, in order to meet Coop about here, up on the Yakima location, down below is the cliff, and it goes right down into the Skull Creek location, and the river goes right around the corner there, the bend, and those are the diggings when we get to the real location up north.
Well, Daves, if you have a feeling of somebody over your shoulder, it's me, Dave Garraway, in New York here.
Well, welcome to the far west, Dave. I wish that Coop and Maria and Ben could have been peeking over your shoulder up on the real location, because this, of course, is just a miniature model of where we'll be starting to shoot pretty soon.
Really beautiful up there, isn't it? Maybe we should say right now that the location we're talking about is 27 miles north of Yakima, Washington.
Well, the thing I love about that place, too, are those wonderful names you run to, Dave. You drive up to this location past a place called Eagle Rock Station. Then you turn to your left and cross the Natchez River at the sawmill. Then you follow the Rattlesnake Creek winding up the road for 2.8 miles. You come to Little Rattlesnake Creek. And when you get to Little Rattlesnake Creek, you turn to the right to Skull Creek, which is where we're going to make this movie for Warner Brothers, starting in about 8 days and starring Gary Cooper. Now, Coop, as you probably know and have sensed in this whole program, is kind of a miracle gift to a director. The minute Coop walks onto a screen, something quite magic happens in these Western stories. And also starring with Coop will be Maria Schell. Now, Maria plays an immigrant girl, the lost lady in our story. And in this kind of story, to have somebody like Maria starring means more gold than there is in the whole of Rattlesnake Creek. Then also we have a young new actor from New York, a brilliant young man named Ben Piazza. Ben is new to motion picture audiences, and in our story, he will play Rune, the escaping man in this enterprise.
Now, Miss Schell, as a European-born actress working in her first American picture, you're going to be in decidedly strange surroundings, aren't you, up there in the wilderness here at Yakima?
Well, I must confess, when I saw the pictures yesterday of those wild surroundings with frightening names like Rattlesnake Creek, I felt a little uneasy, and I could understand how people must have felt coming from Europe 100 years ago, leaving everything behind their head to make a home and living for themselves. But then, taking another good look, I somehow felt reminded of Switzerland. I come from Switzerland, and I have always been surrounded by mountains, so it might not be as strange after all.
Well, a beautiful thinking person is never in strange surroundings, I guess. I should have known. Thank you. Coop, as an actor, why do you appear in so many Westerns?
Well, Dave, aside from the fact that I was born and raised in Montana, I like Westerns because the good ones are real. You feel real when you're making them, and
well, you don't feel actorish.
You think the audience on the other side of the screen shares this feeling of realness in Western movies?
Dave, I think maybe the audiences feel somewhat the same way I do. They like, in Western pictures, I think you like realism, and we get it when we make Westerns. If we're shooting a picture in the mountains, we go to the mountains, and we go to the biggest ones we can find. We go to the prairie, and everything you see is real. The canyons are real, the prairie's real, the cattle and the horses, and most of the humans are real. The pioneer era is very important to all Americans, I think. The Western picture tells stories of the pioneer period. The pioneers braved the elements, and we are brought close to the pioneer people by seeing the Western picture, and we realize that our country was and is full of people who believe in America. That's why I like Western pictures, Dave.
Good reason, too.
Hey, Dave, would you like to sit in on the rehearsal we were about to start when you dropped in on us?
Yes, nothing better.
This scene, of course, that we're about to play isn't really a rehearsal in the sense that we'll do it in the picture. It's a run-through. And actually today we're testing the costumes, the wardrobe, the way the lines feel. So what you're about to see is really a run-through rehearsal. So in the story, Maria Schell is coming from her cabin. And remember, Maria, as you come, you're running. You'll be out of breath, that's right, from your cabin. And if you're ready now, folks, we'll take a run-through of the scene. All ready? Action.
We waited for you.
I'm sorry, but I couldn't come.
Are you afraid of me because I'm well?
No, I'm very glad you're well. But if you'll excuse me, I'll say good night.
Doctor. You're so strange. What is it? Oh, Doctor, please, please.
Now, you better go back to your own cabin. You'll be leaving here tomorrow at noon on the eastbound stage.
But where would I go? What would I do there?
You'll be on your way back to New York or Switzerland.
But what would I do there?
What would you do where?
In Switzerland.
In Switzerland, you have an aunt there.
But I have no money, you know that.
Don't worry about that. I have the money. There's no place here for you. There's no way you can make a living, and there's no one here to take care of you. So if you'll be packed in the morning, I'll take you to the stage.
Why can't I stay with you?
Because you would find nothing with me except unhappiness. Why did you do that?
I will not take your coach in the morning or your money. I came to make this my home, and I will do that.
You realize that in 6 months, or even less, this would be a ghost town?
Then I will be a ghost. I will plant ghost wheat and raise ghost cattle, and right here I will build my ghost house.
With ghost money?
I will find some money. Somehow I will.
Here is Roon. Perhaps he believes in ghosts. It just may be that you will need some help. Would you help Elizabeth, Roon?
Sure, if she'd let me.
All right. All right, Roon. We will be partners. Goodbye, Doctor.
Thank you, Maria. Thanks, Coop. Thanks, Ben. You know, Dave, a lot of people think of Hollywood people as being softies. I wish every single one of them who do could spend at least one day from pre-dawn until nightfall with one of our companies on a distant location, such as the one to which we're going on this picture. When I found this location, there was nothing but dense willows, scrub, and now look. A gold camp town is springing into being, a main street, a high street, buildings, the general store by the river, the one hotel in town, and down below the Golden Nugget, a gambling saloon. The footbridges across the creek, and every single square inch accurate and authentic for the period of our story.
But this all pays off, doesn't it, Del, when you see the picture in the theater?
Yes, you bet it does, Dave. Even as an instinctive kind of thing. And when people go to see this picture next winter, and see Coop and Maria and Ben and Carl Malden, when they see the picture, if they do see these accuracies and this quality of realism, they must thank those men and women behind the camera, behind the scenes, the laboring men and the working men and women who have made this picture as real and as authentic as all fine pictures try to be.
Well, no further proof needed, Del. Thank you. And thank you, cast and crew, please, very much for us, too. Very early in TV, of course, we had the old B-movie westerns and the Hoppy films, programmed mostly for children. But about 2 years ago, the Western stagecoach began arriving in our living rooms during evening hours when everyone was watching, and it was welcomed. Wyatt Earp and the Tales of Wells Fargo were among the first of the new westerns to find favor. Dale Robertson of Wells Fargo on NBC stays with the action pattern in stories of the old Wells Fargo Company. But it's a so-called adult western that's really come into its own on television. Jim Garner, star of Maverick on ABC, is a hero whose actions are aimed at avoiding action, that is physical conflict and gunplay. Knowing, for instance, that a certain gambler never kills while on a winning streak in cards, Garner will contrive to keep him winning for purposes of avoiding a shooting. A top-rated TV western on CBS is Gunsmoke, often featuring the moral rather than physical solution of problems, starring Jim Arness. Jim, as Marshal Matt Dillon, often serves as psychologist and counselor, always leaving the troubled ones to decide the issues for themselves. Once a week, this picture, a gun on the hip of actor Jim Arness, opens another story of Gunsmoke. Hold it, Marshal. Don't shoot. Dave Garraway in New York here. Jim,
Hi, Dave.
How are you?
Welcome to Dodge City.
Thank you. I suppose you've walked these streets so often that you sometimes wonder what life must have been like if there was a real Matt Dillon, huh?
Well, Dave, I tell you, I have the feeling that the life of a peace officer on the frontier, such as Matt Dillon represents, was a pretty difficult job, and one that certainly was far from glamorous. For one thing, there were very few written laws that he could go by, and there was no law enforcement body for him to fall back on. So consequently, when the going got tough, he often found himself very much alone. And at those times, he just simply had to rely on what he believed and hope that he was right.
Jim, Gunsmoke has often been described as an adult western. How do you account for that?
Well, Dave, I'd like to pass that question along to a man who's a little better qualified to answer it than I am, Mr. Norman McDonald, the producer of our show. Norm, did you hear the question?
Yes, I heard the question, Jim, and that phrase, adult westerns, come back to haunt me. It was John Meston, our writer, who used that in connection with Gunsmoke some 6 years ago. It was our way of saying that we wanted to do a show and avoid the bad cliches of westerns, the fight at the water hole, the phony chase, the gun fanner. Jim here wears just one gun because he figures if a man can't get the job done with 5 bullets, he shouldn't wear a gun at all. I guess we've come full circle to the great Bill Hart, who looked for the real, not the showy West in his pictures. Our actors on Gunsmoke do a lot of their own heavy work. They do their own falls, their own riding. As a matter of fact, they do a lot of their own fighting. Jim here has worked out a scene Well, it'll show you how it goes. Now, over there is Bob Morgan, a Hollywood stuntman, and this is what happened.
Jim and John and Bob, time's up, and thank you very much. Wide Wide World is grateful to every one of you who came out to Melody Ranch this afternoon to help us tell the story of the American Western. The Western. The Western, meaning so much to millions in America and throughout the world. To each his own reasons. The Western, epic in size, belonging to everybody as history belongs to everybody. The Western with heroes who walk straight and tall in the world, as each of us might do himself, if he could believe for more than an hour that all the world was the West. The world stands out on either side, no wider than the heart is wide. Above the world is stretched the sky, no higher than the soul is high. And peace.
For film and other materials used on today's program, Wide Wide World expresses appreciation to Screen Gems television subsidiary of Columbia Pictures, whose latest release is The Key, starring William Holden and Sophia Loren, and for use of Buck Jones film. Kaiser Industries for use of the scene from Maverick. Flamingo Telefilms Incorporated, distributors of the new Citizen Soldier series, soon to be seen on your local stations for Film of Tom Mix. 20th Century Fox and the NTA Film Network for excerpts from High Noon and Man Without a Gun. Gunsmoke is seen Saturdays on the CBS television network, sponsored by Liggett & Myers Tobacco Company and by Remington Rand, division of Sperry Rand Corporation. Wide Wide World wishes to thank the International Alliance of Theatrical and Stage Employees for their cooperation and assistance. And also thanks to Alan Rock, owner of the Pawnee Bill Archives, New York, for use of poster material, and to Charles Bragan for items from his collection of Beatle books. The Lone Ranger and the Lost City of Gold, a full-length feature picture, is currently being released by United Artists. Next week at this time, Mr. Wizard explains sound, followed by the award-winning Youth Wants to Know and Frontiers of Faith on most of these NBC stations. Bill Wendell speaking. Wide Wide World has been produced by the NBC Television Network.